Shabbat Shalom. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Temple Bethel. I'd invite those of you who are standing to please come find a seat. Welcome one and all on this very special Shabbat morning at what is admittedly an exciting time of the year in the Jewish community. The high holy days and the Jewish New Year are upon us. For our children, the school year is beginning. But for two young men, this Shabbat is especially exciting because this morning, Jared Lazarus and Jackson Satow are about to be called to the Torah as B'nai Mitzvah. That is a joy that you, their friends and family share. It is a joy that we as a congregational community share because these two young men are ascending a position of leadership as examples to the rest of us within the Jewish community. So we celebrate it together. And you should know the people among whom you're celebrating. Some of them may be people you know very well because you arrived in the same car or you see each other every day at school, but there may be faces who are unfamiliar. Still, we're all part of one congregational community, so you should know them. Turn to the people around you, to the left, to the right, in front, behind. Introduce yourselves and wish each other Shabbat Shalom.
Hello, Jack.
If you happen to have a cell phone that is on, please make sure that at the very least it's silenced so that it's not disruptive during the course of the service. We really hope that you will participate throughout our worship. We want to hear you sing. We want to hear you read the Hebrew as you're able to do it. There'll be places where I'll invite you to read in the English. To Jackson's and Jared's school friends who are here, know that your participation also is very important to us. There is, of course, a particular type of participation which is less welcome. That is talking to one another during the course of the service. You're going to have time to do that later. So while you're here, we know that you'll give the respect and admiration to your friends for this extraordinary moment in their lives. Now, to get us all singing, to lift our spirits and our voices, we're going to start with a very small piece of Psalm 150, which is the great psalm of celebration in Jewish life. Hallelujah, hallelujah. Cantor Anisi will teach it to you, but very quickly we know you'll be able to join in.
And if you know it already, join in from the beginning or whenever you feel comfortable. It goes like this. We'll start it kind of slowly. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. We do the same thing. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Part B. Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. From the beginning, hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Same thing again. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Now up to tempo.
I'd invite you now to take out the blue Siddur Mishkan Tefillah, turn to page 172, and we continue with Ma Tovu, page 172.
Ma Tovu, O Halecha Yaakov, Bishkanotecha Yisrael. Ma Tovu, O Halecha Yaakov, Bishkanotecha Yisrael. Lai, 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 lai,
A bit later in our worship, in fact, right before both Jackson and Jared read from the Torah, they will have two very special talesim wrapped around their shoulders. Jackson will receive his grandpa Phil's talis. Jared will receive his grandpa Herb's. Now, when a young man reaches the time of his 13th birthday and becomes bar mitzvah, one of the very first acts that he performs as an adult within Judaism's ritual community is the wearing of that talis. It symbolizes a mantle of responsibility that each one of them is assuming. And on its ends are these fringes, in Hebrew known as tzitzit. And the reason for the fringes, according to the Torah, is to remind us to uphold the commandments, to fulfill the instructions that are written in Torah. Now, for those of us who are liberal Jews, we may look at those commandments a little bit differently than those in the Orthodox community might. Some of them we see as symbolic. Whether we take them literally or metaphorically, the passages in Torah are never snipped out and set aside. They are there for us to study, to find meaning in, and not just in preparation for bar mitzvah, throughout our lives. That is the commitment that Jared and Jackson are making. The Torah is going to be a part of their lives as long as they live. We're going to continue with the blessing for the study of Torah. It is in the middle of page 178. We'll read it in the Hebrew, and then we'll do some reading in English as well. And please, whenever I'm reading the English at this point, I do hope you'll join with me. So in the middle of 178, we'll begin in the Hebrew. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah. Blessed are you, Adonai our God, sovereign of the universe, who hallows us with mitzvot, commanding us to engage with words of Torah. Adonai our God, make the words of your Torah sweet to us and to the house of Israel, your people, that we and our children may be lovers of your name and students of your Torah. We praise you, O God, teacher of Torah to our people Israel. Baruch atah Adonai, hamilamed Torah la'amo Yisrael.
אלו דברים שאין להם שיעור, שאדם אוכל פירותיהם בעולם הזה, והקרן קיימת לו לעולם הבא, ואלו הם.
We study Torah, and we very quickly discover that as much as it contains instructions about how we should live in relationship to God, Even more, it contains guidelines about how we should live in relationship to our fellow human beings. And these words that we're about to read from Mishnah and Torah convey both of those relationships. In the middle of 180, please read with me. These are things that are limitless, of which a person enjoys the fruit of the world while the principle remains in the world to come. They are honoring one's father and mother, engaging in deeds of compassion, arriving early for study, morning and evening, dealing graciously with guests, visiting the sick, providing for the wedding couple, accompanying the dead for burial, being devoted in prayer, and making peace among people. But the study of Torah encompasses them all. We turn to page 194, and we stand together as we call our B'nai Mitzvah, Jackson and Jared, to the bima.
יתקדל ויתקדש שמי רבה ועמד יברח חירותי וימליך מלכותי וחייכון וביומכון ובחיי דכל בית ישראל בגלה בגלה ובזמן קריב ויאמרו יהי שמי רבה מברך לעולם ולעולמי עלמיה יתברך וישתבח יתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתהלל ויתהלל שמי דקודשה לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה דמירן בעלמא ויאמרו ברכו את אדוני המבורך
Continue on the top of page 196.
The world is sunlight, restoring the soul, rejoicing the heart, bringing light into the eyes, more welcome than gold, a Torah from heaven.
I have no light to give the morning, my Torah, my special human gift is words. As I bring my words forth from silence, welcome them, you who redeems the sun from darkness. Baruch atah Adonai Yitzer HaMe'orot. We read responsively on page 199. O God, inspiration and guide for all, you have spoken in 1,000 tongues for us to hear, in every land and every age. Your children have heard you and imagined you in separate ways, and yet, O God, you are one, unifier of humanity.
We give thanks for the sages and teachers who bring us understanding of your will. Gratefully we recall the lawgivers and prophets, the psalmists and sages of Israel. And joyfully we remember that from the dawn of Israel's life we would turn to you and find purpose.
May the teachings of our ancestors live on in our minds, and their passion for righteousness stir in our hearts. Help us to live so that our daily conduct reveals the beauty and wisdom of your truth. Baruch atah Adonai habocher ba'amo Yisrael ba'ahava.
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad Baruch Shem Kivod Malchuto Leolam Vaed.
Please be seated.
Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'kol levavcha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol me'odecha v'chayu hadabarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzabecha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibartam bam v'shiftecha b'beitecha uvleftecha v'adera uvshofbecha uvkumecha ukshartam le'o ayadecha ukshartam latotafot beineinecha uktavtam amizazot beitecha uvisharecha
Leman tiskeru v'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'yitem kedoshim le'elohechem Ani Adonai Elohechem Asher otzeti ethem meretz Mitzrayim lehiot lachem Elohim Ani Adonai Elohechem. We continue in the middle of page 203. Sing the song of men and women joined in understanding and respect. The songs of God's miracles in earth protected and cherished, a gift for our children and the generations to come.
The song of a land once ravished by war, now quiet and content, her soldiers home to leave no more. The song of a world redeemed, the song of peace.
Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nehedar ba'kodesh, nora tehilot, o seif pele, nora tehilot, o seif pele, שירה חדשה שבחור גאולים לשמך שפת הים יחי כולם הודו והמליכו והאמרו אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד אדוני ימלוך לעולם בעזרת ישראל ופתחנו ממך יהודה וישראל גואלנו אדוני צבאות שמו קדוש ישראל ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל.
Adonai sifatei tiftach ufia ki tehilatecha Baruch ata Adonai Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu ve'imotenu Elohei Abraham Elohei Yitzchak ve'Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel ve'Elohei Leah Ha'el Hagedol Hagibor v'Hanorah El Elyon Gomel Hasidim Tovim Vekoneh HaKol V'zocher Hasdei Avot V'imachot Umegila Livnei B'neihem L'man Shmo Be'achava Melech Ozer U'Moshiach U'Magen Baruch Ata Adonai Megain Avraham V'Izrat Sarah
Ata gibor le'olam Adonai mechaye hakol ata bra le'oshia mori hata mechakel hayim behesed mechaye hakol ve'rahamim robim someth noflim verofei olim umatir asurim umekayem emunato lishene afar Micha mocha ba'al geburot Umido melach Mele memit umekayem Umatzmiya geshiwa. Ane'en man atalacha hayot hakol. Baruch ata Adonai mechayei hakol.
נקדש את שמך בעולם, כשם שמקדישים אותו בשמי מרום, ככתוב על יד נביאך, וקרא זה ואמר, קדוש 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 אדוני צבאות מלך הארץ כבודו אדיר אדירנו אדוני אדוננו מדיר שמך בכל הארץ ברוך כבוד אדוני ממקומו אחד הוא אלוהינו, הוא אבינו, הוא מלכנו, הוא מושיענו והוא ישמיענו, ברחמיו לעיני כל חי. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, ימלוך אדוני לעולם, אלוהיך ציון, לדור ודור, הללויה. לדור ודור נגיד גודלך, ולנצח נצחים קדושתך נקדיש. בשבחך אלוהינו מפינו לא ימוש לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
Please be seated. At the top of page 211, we join in the prayer which sanctifies Shabbat, Yismechu.
ישמחו במלכותך שומרי 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 שבת וקוראי עונג שבת. ישמחו במלכותך שומרי 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 שבת וקוראי עונג שבת. מקדשי שבי שבת כולם יספרו ויתענגו מטובך. ישמחו במלכותך שומרי 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 שבת וקוראי עונג שבת. ישמחו במלכותך שומרי 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 שבת וקוראי עונג שבת. והשביעי רצית בו וקידשתו חמדת ימים אותו קראת. זכר מעשי בראשית. ישמחו במלכותך שומרי 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 שבת וקוראי עונג שבת. ישמחו במלכותך שומרי 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 שבת וקוראי עונג שבת.
bottom of page 211, these beautiful words about the meaning of Shabbat. Let's read them together. The meaning of Shabbat is to celebrate time rather than space. 6 days a week we live under the tyranny of things of space. On Shabbat we try to become attuned to holiness in time. It is a day on which we are called upon to share what is eternal in time, to turn from the results of creation to the mystery of creation, from the world of creation to the creation of the world. We come into this sanctuary this morning surrounded by family and friends in celebration of a wonderful milestone, and we are grateful for that opportunity to be together. I suspect, though, there are things for which we are grateful every single day that we often take for granted. The clothes upon our backs, the freedom that we have, the people around us who are the most precious things to us in the entire world. And because it is human nature to take all of that for granted, our tradition would have us offer a prayer of thanksgiving every day, 3 times each day. On page 214, there is a creative rendering of that traditional prayer. We'll read it in a special way. I'll read the English, and then I'm going to ask all of you to respond with the words Modim anachnu lach, which mean, for all of these things that we so often take for granted, we thank you, O God. So I'll begin. For the expanding grandeur of creation, worlds known and unknown, galaxies beyond galaxies, filling us with awe and challenging our imaginations.
Modim anachnu lach.
For this fragile planet Earth, its times and tides, its sunsets and seasons.
Modim anachnu lach.
For the joy of human life, its wonders and surprises, its hopes and achievements.
Modim anachnu lach.
For human community, our common past and future hope, our oneness transcending all separation, our capacity to work for peace and justice in the midst of hostility and oppression.
Modim anachnu lach.
For high hopes and noble causes, for faith without fanaticism, for understanding of views not shared.
Modim anachnu lach.
For all who have labored and suffered for a fairer world, who have lived so that others might live in dignity and freedom.
Modim anachnu lach.
For human liberties and sacred rights, for opportunities to change and grow, to affirm and choose.
Modim anachnu lach.
We pray that we may live not by our fears but by our hopes, not by our words but by our deeds. Baruch atah Adonai, hatov shimcha ulecha na'eh lehodot. We continue now with our own silent prayers. You can read page 216, 217, 218, but then do offer the prayers written on your own hearts.
Adonai Suri Vegoali. Ose shalom mimromav hu yaseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'yimeru
Part of the power of religious ritual, and it is certainly true of Jewish ritual, is that it can allow us to stand in two places at once, even in two ages at once. Even while we are here, seated thankfully inside at Temple Bethel in Chappaqua, we are also in a very wonderful way about to be transported back to Sinai, when for the very first time our people received Torah. So let's journey now back to that mountain with our service for the reading of the Torah on page 244. And as we invite our B'nai Mitzvah, Jackson and Jared, to come again to the Pima, we call Bill and Sue Hazelton to join them. Page 244.
There is none like you among the gods, Adonai, and there are no deeds like yours. You are sovereign over all worlds, and your dominion is in all generations.
Adonai reigns. Adonai has reigned. Adonai will reign forever and ever. Adonai will give strength to our people. Adonai will bless our people with peace.
Please rise.
Av harachamim heitiv v'tzolcha Etzion tivnei chamod Yerushalayim tivnei chamod Yerushalayim Ki v'cha levad batachnu melech elam nisa Adon olamim.
We continue on the top of page 248. Baruch Shenatan Torah le'amo Yisrael b'kedushato. Blessed is God who in holiness gave the Torah to the people of Israel.
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad Echad Eloheinu Gadol Adonai Kadosh Shemo.
Galu Adonai iti unromama shmo yachdav. Exalt Adonai with me. Let us extol God's name together.
Lecha Adonai hagidula v'hagibura v'hatiferet v'haneitach v'hahod ki chol b'shamayim u'ba'aretz ki chol b'shamayim u'ba'aretz Lecha Adonai על שלושה דברים, על שלושה דברים, על שלושה דברים העולם עומד, על שלושה דברים, על שלושה דברים, על שלושה דברים העולם עומד, על התורה ועל העבודה ועל גמילות חסדים, על התורה ועל העבודה ועל גמילות חסדים.
Please be seated. And so it was, Jackson, those thousands of years ago, that our people first stood at the mountain. Moses had gone up to the top while the people waited down below. Parents, grandparents, standing very much with their children as your family stands with you. They did not know what it was that Moses was about to give them, but they knew that it was a sacred and very, very special gift. And so they said the words, Na'aseh v'nishma. We will do and we will listen. We will make that gift a part of our lives. It's a gift that you now are about to receive in a most wonderful way from your parents and from your grandparents and from your great-grandmother. And in this moment, though they are not present in body, are all of those other generations. We think certainly especially of your grandfather, Dr. Harold Martin, who is very much present in your hearts. You should know the joy with which they pass it on to you, and you will know it, because it won't be too long before you return to a bima somewhere and pass this Torah on to the next generation of your family with that very same joy they handed to you this, the day of your bar mitzvah. Just put out your arms. Congratulations to you. Thank you. Congratulations to you. Thank you. Oh, Phil, thank you. Michael. Now you guys can talk together. You can do the blessing.
This week's Torah portion is Parashat Ki Tavo in the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 26, verses 5 through 15. The verses I will be reading discuss remembering to be grateful to God. For those who wish to follow in the reading, it may be found on pages 1508 through 1510 in the Torah commentary. For the Aliyot, I call upon my grandparents Phil and Donna Satow, my great-uncle Richard Petcher, my aunt and uncle Julie and Stuart Elliott, my brother Max Satow, and my father and mother Michael and Barbara Satow.
Baruch hu et Adonai hamborach.
Baruch Adonai hamborach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai hamborach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech olam. Asher baruch habonu mikol hamim. V'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Ve'anita ve'emarta lifnei Adonai Elohecha Arami uved avi Vayered Mitzrayma Vayagor sham bimtei me'at Vayahisham Legoy gadol atzum vara Vayareu otanu hamitzrim Vaye'anunu Vayitnu aleinu avodah kasha V'anitzak El Adonai Elohei Avodinu Vayishma Adonai et kolenu Vayar et onenu Ve'et amalenu Ve'et lachatzenu.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech olam. Asher natan lanu Torat emet. V'chayei olam notah b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai, Baruch hu et Adonai hamborach.
Baruch Adonai hamborach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Baruch le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Asher bachar banu mikol hamim. V'notan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Vayotzienu Adonai mi Mitzrayim Bayad chazaka uvizroa netuya uvmora gadol uvotot uvmovtim Vayavienu el hamakom hazeh vayiten lanu et haaretz hazot eretz zevat chala udevash hine heveti et ve'ata hine heveti et reshit Beri ha'adama asher natata li Adonai v'sirachto lifnei Adonai Elohecha v'hishtachavita lifnei Adonai Elohecha v'samachta v'kol hatov asher natan lecha Adonai Elohecha ulebeitecha Ata v'cha levi v'hager asher b'kirbecha.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torat emet v'chayei olam natah b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Baruch hu et Adonai Hambarah.
Baruch Adonai Hambarach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hambarah le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bahar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Ki techalel la'aser ekom asar tevuatcha v'shana shlishit shena ha'ma'aser v'natata la'levi la'ger la'yatom v'la'almana v'chlu v'sharecha v'saveyu v'amarta b'fnei Adonai Elohecha v'yarti ha'kodesh min habayit v'gam natativ la'levi v'la'ger la'yatom v'la'almana yechlu mitzvacha asher tzivitani lo avarti mimitzvotecha v'lo shechachti.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torat emet v'chayei olam nata b'dechenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Yamod Reuven ben Meir, Habachor Habar Mitzvah.
Baruch hu et Adonai Hambarah.
Baruch Adonai Hambarach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hambarach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Lo achalti v'oni mimenu v'lo v'yarti mimenu v'tamei v'lo nitati mimenu lame shamati b'kol Adonai Elohai asiti kechol asher tzivitani ashkifa mimeon kochecha min hashamayim uvaret et amacha et Israel ve'et ha'adama asher natata lanu ka'asher nishbata lo la'avotenu eretz zevat chala udevash. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
This week's Torah portion is Parashat Ki Tavo. It discusses how Moses tells the Israelites exactly what they must do. Moses is saying if they follow what God says, then they will have land, money, and power. Moses tells the people to remember the rules to follow because he is dying and he will not be there to remind them what to do. Moses promises that everything will go as planned and that he is speaking to the people on behalf of God. The verses I have just read talk about how everyone is equal and they must follow God to be successful. God was trying to tell the people who have what they need to survive to give to the needy. The verses also discuss how we must remember who got us out of Egypt in the first place and how terrible things were until God came to rescue us. Just because things get better doesn't mean we should stop praying and be grateful to God. He's the one who gave us everything in the first place. My Torah portion instructs us what to do to show we are grateful to God. It tells people what to pray for and how to pray in order to remember what God has done for the Jews in the past. The Jews went from being oppressed to living in the land of milk and honey. God tells the Jews to show their gratitude by giving people who are less fortunate than them. I think when things are good, everybody forgets to be grateful to God. When the Jews were slaves in Egypt, they prayed all the time for His help. Once they were freed and got the things they wanted, they didn't pray as much. Some Jewish scholars believe Moses was worried that the Israelites would assume they owed nothing to God when they entered the land of Israel. That is why Moses gave the Jews specific instructions about how to pray, such as telling them that they should never eat unless say a blessing to God. For my mitzvah project, I went to the Mount Kisco Child Care Center and spent time with underprivileged kids. Some of the kids just wanted you around. It was a big deal to them if you were there. Some of the kids I have a hard time understanding, but I answered yes whenever I couldn't understand them. I was right most of the time. Some kids got upset if I left their group. They came to me and asked if I could come back. It happened a lot. I realized that they really needed the attention because they didn't get attention from their parents during the day. Helping people who have less than me reminds me I should always be grateful to God and be thankful for what I have. I would like to say Mazel Tov to Jared and his family and wish everybody Shabbat Shalom.
It's an honor now to invite Jared and his parents and grandparents to the Bima. Jared, there came a time as the people stood at the mountain where God said to them, "Now you must continue the journey onward toward the promised land." The journey ahead was one of 40 years. It was a voyage through the wilderness, moments of great joy, moments of challenge. There were milestones to be celebrated. There were also difficult decisions to be made. And though they were leaving the mountain behind, they weren't leaving their relationship with God behind, for God had given them this Torah, and in it was the wisdom for the journey. Their journey through the wilderness is not all that unlike the journey of growing up. There will be moments of great excitement and accomplishment. There will also be, as there always are, moments of decision. But you should know that you have been given a roadmap for that journey if you continue to make it your own, which I know that you will. And one day, that journey will no doubt lead you back to a bima just like this one, where you stand beside your parents and your grandparents, and your grandmother, Rona Lazarus, though not here in body, is certainly very, very much present in spirit. And you too will know the joy that they know as they hand this Torah to you when you hand it to those who come after you.
This week's Torah portion is Parashat Kitavo in the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28, verses 1 to 10. The verses I will be reading discuss how Moses can't cross the river of Jordan because he knows he is about to die and can't go with the Jews. For those who wish to follow the reading, it may be found on page 1522 in the Torah commentary. For the Aliyot, I call upon my Uncle Abel, my Grandpa Max, and my Uncle Jerry, my Grandma Mickey, my Grandpa Herb, my Uncle Mark, my Aunt Lisa, my Uncle Robbie, and my Aunt Cheryl, my sister Erica, and my mom and dad.
Baruch es Adonai Hamvarach.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach le'olam vored. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher b'chu mikol hayamim v'nosa lanu es haroso. Baruch atah Adonai noseh hasodro.
V'chaya im shemoa tishma b'kol Adonai Elohecha lishmor la'asot et kol mitzvotav asher anochi mitzavecha hayom u'nitanhan Adonai Elohecha El Yom Al Kokoye Haaretz Uba'u Alecha Kol HaBrachot Ha'ele Behisiguha Ki Tishma B'Kol Adonai Elohecha Ata Ba'ir Ubaruch Ata Basadeh.
Just close it. It's just here. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher notah nateh met v'cheinu omeim natah v'cheinu. Baruch atah Adonai noseinu haTorah.
Amen.
Baruch Adonai HaBarach.
Baruch Adonai
Baruch le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai HaBarach Lilam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech olam asher nachlan lanu mikol hamim v'natan lanu et Toraso. Baruch Atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Baruch pri bitnecha upri admatcha upri bamtecha shigar alafecha be'ashterot sonecha. Baruch Tanacha umishartecha. Baruch Atah beboecha ubaruch Atah betzeitecha. Yitain Adonai et oivecha hakamim alecha negapim lipanecha bedere echad yis'u elecha ubshib aderakim yanusu lipanecha.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torat emet v'chayei olam nata b'tolcheinu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Baruch Adonai HaBarach.
Baruch Adonai Amrach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Barak Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bakar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch Atah Adonai noten haTorah. Amen.
Yitzav Adonai itcha etcha bracha ba'asamecha ubekol mishla yadecha uberecha ba'aretz asher Adonai Elohecha noten la.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chayei olam nata b'tolcheinu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Yitain Adonai.
Ya'amod Raphael Rachamim ben Moshe Uvelo Abachor HaBar Mitzvah.
Baruch et Adonai Hambora.
Baruch Adonai HaBarach Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Amrach le'olam va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bahar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch Atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Yikimcha Adonai lo le'am kadosh ka'asher nishbalak ki tishmor et mitzvot Adonai Elohecha v'halakta bidrachav v'yar'u ka'amim haaretz. Ki Shem Adonai nekra alecha v'yar'u memecha. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet b'chayei olam nata b'tohenu Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
My Torah portion is Parashat Kitabo. It talks about how Moses tells the Israelites that if they are giving people and obey the 10 Commandments, they will have God's blessing in life and remain a treasured people to God. If they don't obey the commandments, they will be cursed and exiled. In the verses I just read, Moses was leaving the Israelites, and he told them if they remember to believe in God, then God would help them guide them when going to their camp in Mount Horeb to Canaan. God said that he remembered the disloyalty of the people when they were worshiping the golden calf, but that he was able to forgive the people as Moses received a second set of tablets after the first set broke. I can relate my Torah portion to the stone tablets of the 10 Commandments that God gave me, Moses, to give to the Jews, which teaches people how to be fair and honest. In the end, I think that the Jews would know what to do when Moses left them using these teachings of the commandments. The Jews will then be able to make it to safety and survive and prosper. I can relate this to my own parents. I can take what my parents taught me, knowing right from wrong, and I could apply that to what they have taught me in life. I would use the knowledge I have learned from what I have learned from books and what my teachers have taught me. The morals and lessons would help me to help generations after me. If I think about what happened to the Jews when Moses left them, I think I would do the same thing using the skills they have learned to stay alive. For my mitzvah project, I volunteered at my karate school to help out in the young classes. During the classes, I made sure the kids have proper form and are doing the right thing. When I do this, it relates to Moses because just like Moses was teaching, I am teaching it what I know and passing it down. At the end, the younger kids recite an oath, which is important to karate. This teaches the kids how to live life and how to be strong and work hard. It says to seek perfection of character, to show strong spirit, to be sincere and honest, to practice courtesy, to control bad temper. I can connect this to my Torah portion because some of the things that God states is that he wants us to be polite to our neighbors, don't steal, and to be kind. This is similar to the 5 principles that are so important in karate. It also means to be faithful to ourselves by doing the best in everything we do. To conclude, I would like to wish Jackson and his family Mazel Tov and Shabbat Shalom. The Haftarah.
Great job. It's a privilege now to invite Courtney Samuels and Dylan Satow to the Bima to help us dress the Torah. And as they come up, I'd invite you all to please stand.
Yisod HaTorah asher sa Moshe lifnei bnei Yisrael al pi Adonai biyad Moshe. Yisod HaTorah asher sa Moshe lifnei bnei Yisrael al pi Adonai biyad Moshe. Lai 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 Please be seated for the reading of the Haftarah and its blessings. You can find the blessings on page 254.
The Haftarah portion is taken from the book of Isaiah, chapter 60, verses 1 to 3. It tells how Isaiah's message of consolation to the Israelites.
The Haftarah reading balances the curses of the Torah reading with its positive message. For those who wish to follow on the reading, it may be found on page 1614 in the Torah commentary. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar b'nviim tovim v'ratzah v'divreihem hane'emarim be'emet. Baruch atah Adonai habocher b'Torah u'Moshe avdo u'Yisrael amo u'b'nviei ha'emet v'tzedek. Kumi ori kiva orech uchvod Adonai alayech zara ki hinei ha'choshe yichase eretz v'rafel lumiyim ve'alayech yizra Adonai uchvodo alayech Yirael.
Arise, shine, for your light has dawned. The presence of our Lord has shone upon you. Behold, darkness shall cover the earth, and thick clouds the people. But upon you the Lord will shine, and his presence be seen over you. And nations shall walk by your light, kings by your shining radiance. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kol ha'olamim sadik b'chol hadorot ha'el ha'ne'eman ha'omer be'oseh ha'medaber u'mekayim shekol devarav emet b'tzedek al ha'torah be'al be'odah be'al hanve'im be'al yom ha'shabbat hazeh shenatata lanu Adonai Eloheinu likdusha u'minucha l'chahayot u'tifaretz al hakol Adonai Eloheinu anachnu modim lach u'mvarchim atach yitbarak shimcha b'fi kol hai tamid le'olam ba'ed baruch atah Adonai mechadesh ha'shabbat.
Amen.
We continue now on page 256 as we prepare to return the Torah to the Ark. We call Jordan Hamowitz and Matthew Burbank now to the Bima. And as they come up, I'd ask you all to please stand.
Yahalalu et Shem Adonai Kis Nishgav Shmo Levado. Let us praise the name of Adonai, for God's name alone is exalted.
When Torah entered the world, freedom entered it. The whole Torah exists only to establish peace. Its highest teaching is love and kindness. What is hateful to you, do not do to any person.
That is the whole Torah. All the rest is commentary. Go ahead and learn it. Those who study Torah are the true guardians of civilization, honoring one another, doing acts of kindness, and making peace. These are our highest duties, but the study of Torah is equal to all of them, because it leads to all of them. Let us learn in order to teach. Let us learn in order to do.
Eitz Chaim hi l'machazikim bo v'tomcheha me'ushar diracheha darcheinom b'chol netivoteha shalom hashivenu Adonai Elecha v'nashuva Hadesh yameinu kekedem.
Please be seated. I want to share with you a story which took place a long time ago, and it's about a king who ruled over Jerusalem, a very wise king. And he ruled for many, many years, and the time came when he knew that soon he would die and someone would have to take his place. But he hadn't yet chosen his successor. Now, this king loved the city of Jerusalem, and those of you who have been there know how beautiful it is. But among the things he loved the most were all of the gardens throughout the city. He loved the flowers. He loved how their fragrance filled the Jerusalem air. And so he decided that he was going to let the flowers choose his successor. Very strange decision, you might think. How could that possibly take place? Well, here's how. The king sent out word that every child in the city should come to the royal garden the next day with his or her parents. And the word went out, and the next day, at about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, all of the children of the city assembled in the royal garden with their parents. And they lined up expectantly, not knowing what it was that the king had to say. And the king made to them this announcement: I am going to give each of these children a seed and ask you to come back to this garden in 3 months' time. And whichever child has grown from that seed the most beautiful flower, that child will be my successor on the throne. So all of the children eagerly went up to the king, who, with a smile, gave each child one of these very special seeds. Now, among the children was a little boy named Natan, whose name comes from the Hebrew root meaning gift. And Natan, in fact, had a gift for growing flowers, so he was very excited. He took his seed home, and he put it in a little pot with some fresh soil, and then placed it upon the windowsill so that the sun could come in and warm it. And he watered it diligently every day, and then he would look every morning to see if a little sprout had begun to poke its way through the earth. A week went by and nothing had grown. So he thought, maybe I need to repot it, put it in a bigger pot with some fresher soil. And so he did that. And again, he watered it diligently every day, every morning, looking to see if maybe something had grown. And a month passed and nothing had grown. So he became concerned. He thought, maybe I need to repot it one more time. And he got a bigger pot and some more fresh soil and watered it every day, letting the sun soak in. And in fact, he sang to it every night. But still, the weeks went by and nothing grew in this pot. Finally, the 3 months had elapsed, and the day had come for all of the children to take their gifts, their flowers, and bring them to the palace. Natan took his pot, carried it with him to the palace. He saw passing him on his left and his right were other children whose pots had the most beautiful flowers in them, tall and vibrant with color, or shorter but fragrant with the most wonderful smells. And here was poor Natan with his empty pot. His father walked with him and put his hand on his shoulder and said, "Natan, you did the best you could, and for the king that will have to be good enough." Natan thanked his father for the encouragement, and they continued on their way to the palace. They entered, and they all stood in the royal garden in a line as they were directed to do. And the king came out, and he looked at all of these beautiful flowers and the smiles on the faces of the children. And he walked down the line, looking at the flowers and looking at the children and frowning at each one, until finally he came to Natan, standing there somber with an empty pot. And he said to Natan, "What have we here? You've brought me an empty pot?" And Natan began to cry, and he said, "Your Majesty, I worked so hard to nourish this seed so that it would grow. I repotted it 3 times, watered it daily, sang to it nightly, and yet nothing has grown. I have no gift to give you. I'm sorry." And the king looked at Natan, and for the first time he smiled, and he said, "Natan, you don't understand. You are the gift. And anyone who would take such extraordinary care of a little seed will take the same care of my people. You are the gift, and you one day will succeed me on the throne." Jackson, Jared, will you please come stand with me? I'll return to that story in a moment. Your Torah portion, Ki Tavo, which you chanted so beautifully, contains a most interesting and wonderful ritual. Moses instructs the Israelites, when they enter the promised land, they are supposed to take the first fruits of their harvest, the very first things that they grow, and put them in a basket and bring them as a gift to God at the temple in Jerusalem. And they're supposed to do that in order to show gratitude to God for having brought them out of the land of Egypt and into this land of milk and honey, which will be their home. And this gift of gratitude, well, it gets divided up and given to the needy within the community. The lesson, of course, is that we show gratitude by giving to others. And those were the lessons that each of you taught us in your wonderful Divrei Torah. Jackson, you talked about how we give to the needy around us, as you did through your wonderful work with the Mount Kisco Child Care Center. And Jared, you talked about how we give to those who come after us, teaching the values that are important to us to them, which you did through your karate program. We say thank you by giving. But as the story teaches us, the gifts that we really give, the most precious gift that we can give, is really the gift of ourselves, the gift of our love and our concern and our presence in other people's lives. There is no gift that is more precious that any of us can give than the gift of our presence. That is the gift that you gave to those kids, and it's a gift that you will continue to bestow upon all whom you meet. You're a gift to everyone here today, each of you, to your friends, to to your families, and to this congregation, because now you assume a role within the Jewish community, one you will continue to grow into, that of being a role model for the people who will follow you, as your siblings have been and will always be for you. We are so proud of you. You should feel that way about yourselves. So proud. We love you for who you are this day and for whoever you're yet to be. And in that pride and great joy, we would ask God's blessing upon you. There's your first. As I ask the congregation to please stand.
Aleinu l'shabeach, bottom of page 282.
Aleinu l'shabeach la'adon ha'kol, la'teit gedula li'yotzeh b'reishit, shelo asanu kigoyei ha'arotzot, ve'lo somanu kemishpechot ha'adama, shelo som chelkeinu kahem, V'kor aleinu kechol hamonam, v'anachnu korim, v'mishtachavim u'modim, lifnei melech, malechei hamlachim, hakadosh Baruch Hu.
Now at the top of page 287. Let's read together. May we gain wisdom in our lives, overflowing like a river with understanding. Loved each of us for the peace we bring to others. May our deeds exceed our speech, and may we never lift up our hand but to conquer fear and doubt and despair. Rise up like the sun, O God, over all humanity. Cause light to go forth over all the lands between the seas, and light up the universe with the joy of wholeness, of freedom, and of peace.
ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד.
We have acknowledged that there are those we wish could have been here to celebrate with us this moment. Whenever we come together in moments of family celebration, there are those whose physical presence is missing. Still, their spiritual presence is always a part of us. They live on in the values that were precious to them, and as we watch those values passed on through the generations. We name in love these members of our congregational family who've died in recent days: Milton Basson, husband of Bernice; Marvin Kane, father of Steve; Larry Medway, father of Rob; and Linda Weisbrod, mother of Jason Levitz; and others whose yahrzeits, the anniversary of whose deaths, occur at this time of the year: Arlene Benaroya, May Berkowitz, Jacob Bick, Joel Cohn, Saul Diamondstein, Arthur Ehrlich, Benjamin Ehrlich, Patsy Feldman, Bella Fleischman, Ness Gaines, Sonny Gershengorn, Lillian Green, Jack Rushoff, Rosalind Hallerman, Helen Halpern, Ingeborg Hurst, Benny Hyman Hertzfeld, Sidney Cami, Cecile Kaufman, Oliver Laster, Hy Levine, Louis Lipschutz, Rose Margolin, Barbara Merkin, Murray Panzer, Arnold Schein, Molly Shyloff, Fred Sussman, Florence Sussman, Iona Taft, Francisca White, Dick Wolf, Bessie Wolfson, Earl Wynn, Irvin Yagoda, and Raquel Zimick. We know that this coming Tuesday morning marks the 11th anniversary of a terrible tragedy, and so we recall the thousands who perished on 9/11. This week that's ending also marks the 40th anniversary of the Munich massacre of the 11 members of Israel's Olympic team by Palestinian terrorists. So we remember them too. And in remembrance of the 6 million who perished during the Holocaust, a number which is really too big to fathom, we name just a few people who died this week: Usher Levy, Grisha Fudeman, and Yoina Fudeman. So, in remembrance of them all, we say our Kaddish prayer, our memorial prayer, on page 294, and I'd ask you to please stand. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, v'alma divrach hirutei v'amlich malchutei, v'chayachon u'v'yomechon, u'v'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael, ba'ag Allah u'bizman kariv imru amen. Yehei shemei Rabbah mevorach le'olam u'almei almaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh, v'yit hadar v'yit aleh v'yit halal shemei dekudasha b'richu le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata damiran b'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shalama rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen.
Oseh shalom b'mromav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen.
Please be seated. Not you guys, you come up here. Because now I am deeply honored to be able to call to the Bima wonderful leader of our Board of Trustees, Ruth Clark, who will give some very special gifts, their first B'nai Mitzvah gifts to our B'nai Mitzvah, in gratitude from the entire congregation for the wonderful role that they will play in this Jewish community.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Welcome to our congregants, guests, family, and friends to our Shabbat service this morning. Mazel Tov to the Lazarus family, Lori, Michael, and Erica, as you celebrate with Jared, as well as to the Sato family, Barbara, Michael, Max, and Dylan, as you too celebrate with Jackson. For Jared's mitzvah project, he volunteered as an assistant helping very young children learn to discipline and karate. For Jackson's mitzvah project, he volunteered at the Mount Kisco Child Care Center. We know how meaningful that experience was for both of you, and we know that throughout life you will continue to perform acts of tikkun olam and will do what you can to help repair our world. In the continued spirit of tikkun olam, each month Temple Bethel chooses one of our non-for-profit organizations to highlight as a way of raising awareness about its worthy goals and to raise tzedakah for the organization. Our tzedakah box is in the back. Please remember to pay it a visit when you leave. And Jared and Jackson, to express our best wishes to help deepen your sense of appreciation for the tradition that you're part of today, we offer you these gifts from Rabbi Middleman, Davidson, and Cantor-Nisi, the Torah commentary from Temple Bethel congregation, the Kiddush Cup, and from NIVT, a certificate to be used during high school years for your summer experience in Israel. On behalf of the entire Temple Bethel family, we wish you Mazel Tov on this day. May we say L'dor v'dor from generation to generation as you take your rightful place in our history and in your future. Once again, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you, Ruth, for those very beautiful words. Again, a hearty mazel tov to the Lazarus and Sato families from all of us in this congregation. In just a couple of moments, there will be an Oneg Shabbat, a Kiddush on the bridge that will be there for you on your way to your celebrations. In preparation for that Oneg, we're going to stand together for Kiddush and Motzi on pages 301 and 302.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz.
Amen. It's been wonderful hearing your voices throughout our worship. We'll hear them one more time, I hope, as we close with Adon Olam on page 321.
It has lots of la-las in it, so even if the words get you, la-la is an option.
Adon Olam Asher Malach B'terem Kol Yitzir Nivra Li'et Nasa Behefzot Kol Azai Melech Shemo Nikra Ve'acharei Mikot HaKol Livado Yimloch Nora Ve'hu Haya Ve'hu Hoben la 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 la. La 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 la, la 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 la, la 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 la, la 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 la. Vehu Eli, vechai goati, v'tzor kehevli, ve'eit zara, vehu nisi, umanos li, enat kosi, beyom ekra. La la. La 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 la, la 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 la, la 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 la, la 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 la, la 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 la. V'yado apidruchi, v'yeti hishan, v'ayira, v'yimruchi. Adonai live and lo ira. La 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 la, 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 la 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 la,
Adonai oz la'amo yitain, Adonai yivarech et amo v'shalom. May God bless our people with strength. May God bless all peoples with peace. Amen. Shabbat shalom.